Hello, everyone, and welcome to our town hall for June. Um, I'm really excited today to introduce you to Leslie Hoskins from the Leader Dog for the Blind. I heard about their organization in Scottsdale, Arizona last year when I was attending a conference and was very interested in their projects. I will let Leslie take the mic and tell us about their programs and then about orientation and mobility tips for all of us. Leslie?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Leslie Hoskins. I'm the Outreach Services and Community Engagement Manager at Leader Dogs for the Blind. I'm also a certified orientation and mobility specialist myself, and have been at Leader Dogs for the Blind for about 13 years now. So I'm delighted to be with you today. I'll share a little bit about Leader Dogs for the Blind, about our programs, and of course, yes, happy to answer any questions or talk about orientation and mobility and those very important white cane skills. So, Leader Dogs for the Blind, we are a nonprofit organization and we're located in Rochester Hills, Michigan, so kind of a Detroit suburb. We were established back in 1939 by actually three Detroit area local Lions Club members. So, if you're familiar with the Lions Club, they're a philanthropic group and they do a lot of things for a lot of different organizations, and they continue to be huge supporters of ours. So, they constantly are referring clients to us. They're raising money with different fundraisers, just really big supporters. So if you yourself are a lion or you know a lion, please do thank them on our behalf because they really were our founders and then continue to support us in so many different ways. But back in 1939, we started our organization providing guide dog services. Since then, we've certainly evolved. And many times I like to call these presentations Leader Dogs for the Blind more than guide dogs because people don't know that we do so much more than just provide those guide dog services. Our mission is to empower people who are blind or low vision with lifelong skills for safe and independent daily travel, whether that be with a guide dog or a long white cane. Something interesting about our organization is that we are a nonprofit organization and we do not receive any state or federal income, nor do we receive money from insurance companies. So we are philanthropically funded, meaning the community is really supporting all of our efforts and what we do. It also helps to remove a lot of barriers for us because we're not receiving that state or federal income. We have a lot of flexibility on who we serve and how we serve, which I'll talk a little bit more about here in a few minutes. But I'm always very proud to share that all of the services that I'm going to share with you today are completely free. So there is no expense passed on to clients. We fly individuals into Michigan from all over the United States and Canada, pick them up at the airport, and then bring them to our campus here in Rochester Hills. Staying on our campus is very much so like staying in a hotel. So all clients would have their own bedroom and bathroom. We have a workout facility, a dining room, a coffee station, a really nice outside practice course and pavilion, especially right now. We were just talking about the beautiful summer Michigan weather here finally, and we're enjoying it. So we have some lovely spaces outside where clients can practice their skills or just, relax and take in the beautiful weather. But it's a lovely campus here. I actually did my internship here. So I stayed on campus for 3 months, and I will tell you, I didn't want to leave. We have fantastic team members here who really assist and help out and make it a very comfortable space for everybody to be at. So, again, all of these programs and services are completely free, no expenses passed on to any clients for these services. Additionally, a couple of things that I like to share that make us unique sometimes to different organizations or agencies and ways that we consider we're removing barriers for our clients or things that we've heard throughout the years where there's struggles, we're trying to do our best to make sure that those don't impact our clients. So the first one being is that we don't require any vocational goals. So anybody who's interested in these services does not have to have a vocational goal. If you happen to have a vocational goal, that's great. We certainly want to support it and help it in whatever capacity that we can, but it's certainly not a requirement. Additionally, we don't have any upper age restrictions. So our programs start in those teenage years, like 15, 16, but they go well into their 80s or 90s, even as long as it continues to make sense. And so recently we had an individual here, a gentleman from New York. He was 81. He'd recently lost his vision and he came to Michigan to receive orientation and mobility services. He spent the week with us learning how to use that long white cane and has gotten back to be unstoppable. He, I think, should be on the payroll for us in outreach. He is a huge advocate for our services and sharing and has made lots of referrals to our program. But all that to say, no upper age limit. So we're happy to serve people into their 80s and 90s and whatever makes sense for their journey. We also don't have a limit on number of service hours available. So we want to serve people, like I said, throughout their entire lifespan. So that might mean coming as a teen for a program and then coming again for a guide dog or maybe O&M, then maybe another guide dog. Whatever their journey is, we want to serve people throughout their entire lifespan. So we are here. There's not, once you participate, you're done and you've given up your opportunity. That's not how it works. We don't have those limits on service time. And then lastly is we don't actually have any formal referral processes that are necessary. So if you want these services or are interested, you can simply go to leaderdog.org or give us a call to get started on an application, but you don't have to go through, a rehab counselor or a state agency in order to get access or a referral to these services. So those are just a couple things that I always like to share because, again, it makes us a little unique. And that's because we don't receive that state or federal income. So it gives us that flexibility, like I mentioned, on who we serve and how we serve. But to dive right into the programs and things that we are currently offering at Leader Dogs for the Blind, we have several different programs. We have our guide dog program, which of course is the one that we're most known for, where we match individuals with a guide dog to fit their unique needs. We also have an orientation and mobility program. So we're teaching individuals how to travel with that long white cane. We have a teen O&M, which is kind of that week-long O&M program, but specifically for teens. And then a teen summer camp, which is actually taking place. The campers arrive Sunday. And that's very much so like a camp. It's a lot of fun things that they do, rock wall climbing, zip lining, and stuff like that. So those are our main programs that we're offering on campus in person. So I'll start with talking just a little bit more in depth about the guide dog program. Again, our guide dog program is when our guide dog mobility instructors are really getting to know as much as we can about the guide dog applicant. So things that they're looking for are good orientation and mobility skills, really being able to travel independently with the long white cane, being able to independently problem solve, having enough work for a guide dog. That's a really big conversation that we're having, is making sure that clients or applicants really understand the amount of routes and work that they have to have in order for the dog to maintain its guiding skills. So while, a route around the block is really nice as an exercise route, that's not necessarily enough work for the dog to stimulate them and keep them and their skills fresh. So we really like to see routes with a purpose, with turns and street crossings and curbs and all sorts of different things. It doesn't mean every route has to have all of those requirements, certainly not. However, we want to make sure that the dog is traveling in those environments somewhat regularly to maintain those guiding skills. We're also talking about, a positive home environment, the financial means to care for a dog in the long term. Thinking about, our dogs work on average 8 to 10 years. That's a long commitment. So making sure that everybody who's applying for a guide dog really understands what they're getting into. We talk a lot about the lifestyle impact, the pros and cons of having a guide dog. It's taking care of another living, breathing thing. So that's certainly something to consider. But also, right, there's companionship there. And so having a partner with you when you're out traveling is certainly sometimes a very nice feature. So just really wanting to make sure that individuals understand what they're getting into and committing to with those guide dogs. But our guide dog program typically takes place on campus here and is 3 weeks long. So we would fly somebody in from wherever, pick them up at the airport, bring them to our campus here, where they would stay for 3 weeks. They'd be matched with their guide dog and learn how to work together in a variety of environments. They have the support of our guide dog mobility instructors. They have our resident assistants here, but they also have that peer support. So there's really something to be said about coming to campus and experiencing these programs on our campus here in Rochester Hills to connect with peers who are going through similar experiences. So that's something we strongly encourage and want to make sure that people understand the benefits of that. So that 3-week guide dog program is an option, but we also recognize, 3 weeks is a big commitment to come and be away from home. So we certainly do identify that. And we also have an in-home option. So the in-home option is typically for individuals who have had a guide dog previously. So they understand the mechanics of it, but it's more kind of getting to know your new dog versus first-time guide dog users. We're going to strongly encourage coming to campus and getting that full 3 weeks of instruction. The in-home program is about 10 to 12 days of one-on-one instruction in home environments, which is great, right? Working in your own familiar neighborhoods, on your routes that are specific to you. But that can certainly be challenging, especially if you've never traveled with a guide dog before. So pros and cons to both. So on campus, 3 weeks, in home, about 10 days. We also have a flex program, which is kind of a combination of those two. So somebody might come to campus for a week or two and then go home and get some follow-up support in their home area. So when applying for a guide dog, those are listed as different options, and you can kind of select which one you're interested in. Once you're accepted, we'll have those conversations with you and really truly understand why you picked the format in which you did. And then our instructors will weigh in as well, and collectively we'll decide on the best programming. The last program option that we do have for our guide dog program is our deaf-blind and adaptive services team. So this is going to be for individuals who are deaf-blind, so individuals who are communicating with American Sign Language, either visual or tactile. Sometimes it could also be individuals who maybe have a cochlear implant or are just very hard of hearing and would really benefit from those smaller class sizes, more one-on-one instruction, longer processing time, things like that. So that deaf, blind, and adaptive services program is going to be a great option for, again, individuals who are deaf, blind, and also individuals. The adaptive services part might be who have a traumatic brain injury and maybe process things a little bit differently, or have a learning disability. Or maybe they have a physical, sometimes people will have a left arm weakness and we need to train a dog to be on the right. So lots of different reasons somebody might be considered for the adaptive services program, but we're really proud to offer that and that kind of out of the box thinking and getting creative to meet the client's individual needs. So those programs are also available in home and on campus, that deaf, blind, and adaptive services team. We are really fortunate that we have some incredible instructors who are guide dog mobility instructors, certified orientation mobility specialists, and certified to instruct in American Sign Language. So very proud to say that the instruction is coming directly from the specialist. And that's a really big deal. Additionally, we also offer these programs to individuals who are Spanish speaking. So if Spanish is somebody's native and first language, we can also provide these services in Spanish. Currently, we are using Labradors and Golden Retrievers and Lab Gold Crosses. And our wait list is about 6 months to a year. So once we get a completed application and we are looking at all of the requirements, an individual is approved for a guide dog, they will go to our wait list. When they're on the wait list, what's happening is every month when our guide dog mobility instructors are evaluating their dogs and starting to think about going into class, they are looking at the wait list and seeing, okay, I think I've got a dog for this person. I think I have somebody for that person. And they're looking at, the pace that somebody walks. So how fast they're walking. They're looking at the environment in which they travel. They are also looking at personality and just lifestyle. If somebody is a teacher and going to be around kids, those are good things for us to know and probably going to impact which dog we give that individual. So those are just some things to consider. And that's kind of the guide dog program. Moving right along to our orientation and mobility program. Our orientation and mobility program is only 1 week long and typically takes place on our campus here in Rochester Hills. However, We also offer that program in home as well. So we have one instructor, Mr. Barry Stafford, if you're familiar with him. He lives in Texas, but he actually travels around the United States and Canada, providing in-home orientation and mobility. So our 1 week orientation and mobility program, typically clients will arrive on a Sunday and we will work Monday through Friday one-on-one with a certified orientation and mobility specialist, working really at your skill level and at your pace. So it's a very individualized program. So myself as an O&M specialist, if I were teaching 1 week, I would meet my client on Monday morning before breakfast. I'd introduce myself, say I'm delighted to get to know you. And then after breakfast, we'll meet up for our first lesson. We'll get to know each other, talk through goals, expectations, what they want to get out of the week, and then we'll start right at it. So there are times when a client has never used a cane before, and we're maybe giving them their very first long white cane and teaching them the basics of how to use it. There's other times where people have had maybe years of instruction and they're looking for a brush up. It could be individuals have lost more vision or their vision has changed slightly, and that really impacts the way that they're navigating the world. It could be that the environment changes, right? We are seeing a lot more roundabouts and diverging double diamonds and accessible pedestrian signals and lots of different things that are making travel in the environment a lot different and maybe more challenging and maybe helpful. It just depends on the situation and the resource. Sometimes people's physical ability changes. Maybe we're now using a support cane sometimes. Lots of different reasons why a brush up might be a good reason, but we're going to meet that individual at their skill level. So sometimes we're starting, like I said, very basics of giving somebody their very first cane, and we're talking about how to fold and unfold the cane. We're talking about how to change the cane tip. We're, doing basic cane technique up and down the hallways or up and down the stairs, in and out of doors, really working at their level or their skill. Other times we're jumping right into going downtown and crossing some residential street crossings. So really just depends on the client's comfortability and where they're at. So our goal is to work one-on-one. The client typically receives anywhere between 25 and 35 hours of direct instruction. Again, working on whatever they want to work on. So recently I worked with a client and her goals, she was already a very good independent traveler. In fact, she was a guide dog user. She had a guide dog from another organization, but came to Leader Dog for a brush up on those O&M skills. Just wanted to feel more confident with her cane should her dog need to retire anytime. And so her goals were ultimately what we would consider more advanced. She wanted to be able to travel confidently in unfamiliar environments and complex environments, really complex lighted intersections. She wanted to incorporate some different technology into her travel, some GPS technology. But she also wanted to be able to hike. And so, we worked on all of those individual goals, and some of the other O&M clients who were here that week didn't go on a hike, right? That wasn't a goal. So they didn't work on that. They worked and focused on theirs. So there's a wide variety of what we can cover in this orientation and mobility program, which is why you're typically working one-on-one with an O&M specialist, and that team member's sole responsibility is to work with you throughout the week. What's really great about this program is it's different than the itinerant model. And so whatever we work on Monday morning, we can build off of Monday afternoon, and again, Tuesday morning and Tuesday afternoon. So the progress of which we see Monday, but by Friday is really, really big because we've just focused on mobility that entire week. And that just makes us a little bit different than a lot of other residential programs where you're also working on tech skills or cooking and activities of daily living. Here we are just focusing on mobility. And so we're able to have a lot of progress and growth in those 5 days of one-on-one instruction. So it's a fantastic program. I highly recommend. Like I said, you can come in at all different skill levels. You can come in for a brush up. You can come in as a very new to cane travel client. Everybody who does come for this program gets a new cane. So we provide graphite Ambutech folding mobility canes. I do also want to mention if you have your own style cane that you prefer, that is more than welcome too. So some people prefer the NFB style cane. That's certainly welcome. We will not force anybody to use our canes. We do certainly offer them and encourage everybody to have backup canes, but not a requirement to use the style cane that we provide. So please know that we are welcome and to all all different cane types. The wait list right now for the orientation mobility program is about 3 to 4 months. So once we get an application in and it's completed, it's about 3 to 4 months until we're seeing individuals on campus. For the in-home, it's probably a little bit longer, more 6 to 7 months until we're in somebody's home area providing these services. I'll pause for a second. Are there any questions about the programs? I can certainly talk about the application process.
Krista, you're unmuted. Okay, let's go to Janice.
Thank you. So we all know that vision loss is diverse. And so for those that are considered to be legally blind and low vision, I've heard that people don't really recommend guide dogs for them. What's your position on that?
That is a really great question, and a really great point. I think I can understand both sides of it, right? The trouble mainly when people have some remaining vision and want to travel with a guide dog is that they end up doing the work for the guide dog. So they're not letting the
Mm-hmm.
dog stop at curbs and make those decisions. And
Mm-hmm.
then the dog starts to lose those skills because why
Mm-hmm.
would I, as a dog, need to stop at the curb if my mom is always going to stop me? That's
Mm-hmm.
right. Like, why am
Mm-hmm.
I going to duplicate those efforts? So, it can be successful though, right? If the client is super aware of that and really allowing and trusting the dog to do its work. So
Mm-hmm.
we certainly serve individuals who have remaining vision. I would say 90% of our clients who are coming to any of our programs have remaining vision, but it is certainly something we're conscious of, and we really try to set up those clients for success and making them aware that they have to do.
Mhm.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nora, can I ask one more question?
of course.
Um, so you also mentioned that there you assess the dogs for the best fit. Can the client request either a lab or a golden retriever, or is it just strictly what you think, which dog? And then you make an assessment within those two breeds, within one of the breeds, which would be the best fit.
That's also a really great question. We do ask for if anybody has a preference.
Mm-hmm.
We try to encourage people to come with an open mind so that
Mm-hmm.
we can just
Mm-hmm.
give them the best dog and match for them. However,
Mm-hmm.
if you only want to work with a golden retriever and you know in your heart of hearts you're not going to be happy with any other dog than a golden retriever, then we certainly don't want to give you a lab. So we do
Mm-hmm.
ask for that preference. What might happen though is it might make your wait time longer because now we
Mm-hmm.
have to find a golden retriever specifically
Mm-hmm.
that's going to fit
Mm-hmm.
all of your needs. But
Right.
absolutely, we totally respect preferences and we'll have those conversations. It might be that, you've requested a female golden, but we have a perfect, black lab. And so we
Mm-hmm.
might call and say, I know you requested this. We just want to say, we have this option. And you absolutely, as the client, have the right to say, no, I'm sorry, I just wouldn't be comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to wait. And that's perfectly fine. And we respect that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
those are great questions. Thank you.
there's a question from Edie. Do clients with residual vision have to wear blindfolds?
No, absolutely not. That would certainly be a conversation if individuals are interested in doing blindfold work, or we might recommend it in a specific environment or situation, but nobody would ever be forced to wear blindfolds. It would certainly be a conversation. Leader Dog really believes in the adult learning philosophies and models in which so the client and adult are included in the conversations and the planning and the prep and all of those things. So yes, they might be asked if they're interested, if we find that it might be beneficial, but certainly not like a typical daily practice for us.
Okay. Krista and then Emily.
Hi,
Krista?
can you hear me at all?
Yes,
Yes, we
Krista.
can.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, for your guide dogs, do you ever consider a non-shedding breed? My current guide dog does not shed. It's a non-shedding breed.
We certainly have in the past. We've explored a couple of different breeds, and we are just, as of right now, sticking with the Golden Retrievers and Labradors and Lab Golden Crosses. So, not at this time. I wouldn't say never, because who knows what the future may hold. But at this time, we're sticking with the breeds we've got.
The school that I got Milo from is has stopped carrying their breeder, and
Mm.
so Milo's now 7, and so I'm beginning to look around to see who will who will have a non-shedder. And so, is there anything I can do to put my name in there so for your future you may look around for that? You're not even considering it this time.
We're not at this time.
I see. Thank you.
No, no, but I wish you luck. I know that I can't think of any organizations off the top of my head. I think seeing I might be doing poodles, but I also
Mhm.
feel like I heard they stopped doing poodles. So certainly do your research. I would recommend giving calls to different organizations and trying to find out because I think most organizations are working with the labs and Goldens.
Right. That's what I
Yeah.
found out too. So I thought I'd stop in today. I like your program. It's just that I need something, an animal that doesn't shed. So
I totally understand that. And I'm sorry that we cannot accommodate that.
can
It
you
is a
tell me
frequently asked question. So
why is it that people have stopped using
we just
non-shedding breeds?
we just have much better success with the labs and Goldens. We also stopped using German Shepherds. They're great dogs, right? They're fantastic. They're incredibly smart. But for the amount of resources that we were putting into that breed and the outcome, it was very, very few. And so we just have the most success with labs and Goldens. They're, easy to teach, they're easily motivated. And that's just positive reinforcement has been really, really great for them. And that's kind of where we're sticking.
I see. All right.
Hmm.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, great questions. I appreciate it.
Okay. Emily?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm actually on this call for my husband, and he's currently in dialysis, so he can't travel. And I was thinking more him getting trained for walking with a cane.
Hmm.
He still does have some vision, but it's very low vision. So could somebody or could we sign up for a program where it's at home so he doesn't miss his dialysis treatments?
Yes, absolutely. I would recommend applying for the in-home orientation mobility program. We have worked with individuals who have been on dialysis before.
Okay, and can I get the link so I can apply or have it sent to me so I can go ahead and start the process?
Yes, I can put the link in the chat.
And Emily, which state do you live in?
We live in Maryland.
In Maryland. Okay. Have you approached doors as well?
We
Okay.
talked to Judy was our advocate over at Doors.
Yeah.
And the last time I asked about it, she said there was currently no one who could train them.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have the link now. Leslie put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before we continue? Okay, Leslie.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. Those are really great, insightful questions. I appreciate them. So those are our main programs. I'm not going to dive into the teen orientation mobility or teen summer camp too much, but just know that those programs do exist. So if you know any teens who are blind or low vision who would benefit, please do send them to our website at leaderdog.org. We have some really, really just great resources, again, completely free. The one difference with the teen O&M versus, our standard adult O&M is that the teen O&M, they bring an adult supporter with them. So they would actually bring a parent or guardian with them and also have a separate learning track, which has been very, very successful. So just know that those are available if you should run into somebody who could benefit. But as far as our application process goes, I always like to share a little bit about that. I'll talk briefly first about some program requirements. Typically, our programs, again, start in those teenage years. The orientation and mobility, the teen O&M is like 15, 16. Teen summer camp, they have to be 16 or 17, and then beyond that, 18 and older for our typical O&M program. We will give guide dogs to teens as young as 16, but they must be 16. And it's pretty rare that we find a mature enough and responsible enough 16-year-old to get a guide dog, but it certainly, it has happened before. For our guide dog program, applicants must be legally blind. For our orientation mobility program, clients do not have to be legally blind. Again, we don't have those state or federal incomes, so we have flexibility on who we serve. So individuals applying for the orientation and mobility program sometimes are on that cusp of legal blindness or have that prognosis of blindness is in their future, or just their vision is impacting their ability to navigate the environment safely. And so if that applies to you or somebody you know, I would encourage them to give us a call and let's have those conversations and talk through their vision before starting, a full application. I would hate for somebody to go through all the paperwork and then us not to be able to, support them. But very rarely are we denying people because of their vision for O&M. The other thing to consider, especially if coming to campus for our programs, is being able to administer your own medications. We have a nurse, but they're only here on Mondays, and so they're mostly doing pre-class phone calls to understand any medical conditions or medications. So people must be able to manage their own medications while here on campus. So that could mean just having your daily pill box. That could mean if you have injections that you have to take yourself, but that you could do those all independently. Additionally, have the activities of daily living to stay independently in a hotel-like setting for the duration of training. So again, thinking about being able to bathe, time management, laundry, anything like that you would need to do to stay independently for the duration of training. For O&M, that's only 1 week. Probably don't need to do laundry, but for guide dog, that's 3 weeks. So just having those skills to do those things. Please keep in mind, we have 24-hour resident assistants on campus. They are there to help with such things. So if you do need to do laundry, you probably don't know how to work our contraptions. So they're certainly going to help you and navigate and teach you the buttons and things like that. Or should you drop a pill? Excuse me, they're absolutely going to be there to support those things. So just know that we do have somebody here 24 hours a day to assist with some of those minor things, but being able to basically cover your own individual self-care skills. The other thing is being able to walk for a minimum of 30 minutes consecutively multiple times a day. So because our trainings are condensed, right, especially that orientation mobility program is only 1 week long, you do have to be able to walk, and do multiple routes in the morning and then again in the afternoon. So just stamina, basically, and balance are things to consider. I am noticing that somebody put a question in the chat about medical diet restrictions. I will tell you, our team here, our culinary team, does a fantastic job. So we do ask those questions. Do you have any dietary restrictions or food allergies, and even just preferences? We will ask that. Our kitchen team will then call ahead of time. So if you have a kosher diet or gluten-free diet, they'll typically give a call and ask, some questions, but they accommodate almost all diets. So high cholesterol, gluten-free, kosher, like I said. So they're really, really great at accommodating those things, because when you're here, we really want you to focus on that training. So we try to make all the other aspects as peaceful or restful as we possibly can. And that includes food, right? That's a big consideration, especially if you have a food allergy. That can be very scary coming to a new place. So we want to take that off the worry list and know that our kitchen is on top of it. But thank you for that question. So those are kind of the program requirements to think about if coming on campus for our services. As far as the application goes, the first piece is the application, which is going to be that generic information of address, date of birth, emergency contact, those types of things. That's also where we're asking, do you have any hearing impairments? Do you have any, physical things that we should know about? So we're asking kind of some basic information there, which will determine if there's other documents needed based on those responses. We also have release forms and waivers. Once we have a completed application, the release forms and waivers, our client services coordinators can really then help support the rest of the application pieces. So they can help you with your medical packet. The medical packet has to be filled out by a physician and then returned directly to LeaderDog. But again, our client services coordinators can help with some of those facilitating those questions. We also ask for a vision evaluation from an eye care professional. So this is telling us if you do have remaining vision, a little bit more about it and maybe how you use it. And if it fluctuates and all of these different things so that we have a better idea as instructors. If I know, okay, they have some remaining vision, but it's really only, peripheral vision and things like that. So we certainly take all of that into consideration when prepping for a client. And then lastly, for guide dog, we ask for personal references and a video. We have stopped asking for those for our orientation and mobility applicants, so we do not require a video or references. If somebody is able to complete a video, that is really helpful. It does give us a good idea of somebody's travel environment and any balance or stamina concerns, but we are trying to reduce as many barriers as possible. We do need the video and references for the guide dog program because that helps us make that match. So we really need to see somebody walking in their home environment. We need to see that they can do independent travel skills. All of that is really impactful when finding the perfect guide dog for somebody. So those are still requirements, but again, our client services team can support and help with any questions regarding that. Once we get a completed application for orientation and mobility, it will go to the O&M team and they'll review the file. And if they have any questions, they might give a call to somebody to learn a little bit more information. And then once approved, hopefully, they will talk to our client services coordinator and start talking about dates of potential instruction. So that is fantastic. And then if it's approved on the guide dog side, then they go on that wait list like we talked about and kind of wait for that perfect match. Sometimes if we're not approved, it might be on hold. We might just have more questions. So we might call, or sometimes if there's a denial, in which case then we'll always let the individual know why they're being denied. But especially for O&M, that's pretty rare. And I do see a question, how can I benefit from this program if I live in Salisbury, Maryland, age 56, Stargardt's disease, severely visually impaired? Independent travel. So if you want to be able to travel independently with a long white cane or a guide dog, that is absolutely how you can benefit from our program. So learning how to navigate the world with the cane. If you do have some remaining vision, right, being able to put your shoulders back and head up and travel with the long white cane so that the cane can tell you any environmental things. What we see a lot of times, right, is people newer to vision loss or who have not had instruction is everybody's looking down. So any remaining vision that they do have, they're looking down and trying to take in, is there a crack in the sidewalk? Are there these different things when really we want the cane to tell individuals that, and we want to use any remaining vision we do have to take in the sights or see what's coming ahead or smile as somebody passes by. So I would recommend if you feel like this might be a good program for you. Again, it's very individualized. As an O&M specialist myself, I love this program. I have seen it work time and time again. I've been at LeaderDog, like I said, 13 years. I was an instructor for 6, and now I do outreach and I teach every now and then. But talking to our clients and talking to them on Monday versus talking to them on Friday, many times they're different people. They've, built this confidence. They can go home and walk with their head held high. They can trust that their cane is going to navigate and tell them the environment or drop offs. They're not running into things with their shoulders anymore or tripping or falling because they missed a step. The cane is there to tell you those things. And so we can teach you how to do that. Question here, approximately how many clients stay at our location at any given time? We have 30 rooms. So we have 30 residence rooms. I wouldn't say we haven't been full in a long time. Camp is typically the fullest we are. Right now, I think our class sizes for guide dog are around 12 to 15 clients. And then any given week of orientation and mobility, probably 4 or 5 clients maybe. So typically, maybe 20 people on average? Great questions.
Leslie, I have a question. For instance, I live in Virginia, and so
Yeah.
if I'm thinking about the orientation and mobility training, the 1 week training, um, it's really interesting that it would help me in general. It doesn't need to be location specific.
Mhm.
So, could you elaborate more? For instance, I take the metro, I cross wide streets, things like that. How can you adjust the training to where I live, or how does it work?
That's a really great question. Thank you so much. So, we really try to do that's kind of that first discussion that we're having on mundane learning is tell me about your travel environment, right? What kind of intersections are you crossing? Is it residential? Is it big city? Are they lighted? Are they stop sign? Do you have push buttons? Is it rural and there's no sidewalk? Are you hiking? Are you roundabout? So we try to grab as much information as possible. We also really rely on Google Maps, right? Google Maps are a fantastic thing where we can say, okay, what's your address? And we can look it up and we can say, okay, tell me your route. And then I can like follow along and get a basic idea of what the travel environment is. And then I'm familiar with the travel environment here. So I can say, okay, that intersection or this shape looks a lot like Rochester Road and Avon. Let's go out. I want you to tell me if this feels similar. And so we'll try to mimic the environments. As far as public transportation, same thing. So we have access here to a public bus, right, that runs through Rochester, which is new and very exciting for us. But we also have the People Mover in Detroit that we can go to and use that there. We also have our own buses that we can do mock bus travel and things like that. So we try to mimic the environments as much as possible. It's not going to be perfect, of course, because we aren't in your home environment, but we can at least find areas that are very, very similar. What's really great here too is that we have resources. And so as an instructor, when I'm with my client, I typically have my own van for the week. So me and my client can go to whatever environments we need to go to, even if the other, people in the class don't need to go there. So like I mentioned, the client I worked with most recently really wanted to hike. It was something that she wanted to do. So I asked a little bit more like what type of hiking, right? Is it just like trails or paved trails, or is it really like rocky or rooty? And so based on her responses, I picked a trail that I thought, okay, this might be a really good option. And we went out and navigated that together. We brought different cane tips and tried them out in different, in that environment. And that was one whole lesson for us. Now, somebody else might have said, you know what, actually, I'm not hiking. I want to go to more of a beach, right? I walk along the beach. What is that like? Or I want to go to a movie theater. I love going to the movies, but I have a really hard time navigating the stairs and the rows of the seating. So we might do that or grocery stores, right? Those can be really challenging, or Walgreens. So whatever it is that they're traveling in regularly, we want to do. And same thing on the guide dog side. So our guide dog mobility instructors get really creative. Most recently, we had a client who regularly takes a very small airplane to doctor's appointments, like a four-person seater plane. And so we're thinking, okay, well, this dog has to be comfortable getting on a four-person plane. And so luckily with connections and personal people that we know, our instructor was able to take the dog up into a four-seater plane to see how the dog reacted, and they did really well, which is fantastic. But we really try to individualize it. One of my other favorite things recently, especially at the dog side of things, was a client had a giant, like a parrot that would just sit on their shoulder and travel around with them. Well, as you can imagine, for a guide dog, that might be very distracting to have a bird on your person's shoulder. And so they were taping like a stuffed animal bird to their shoulder, which you can imagine they looked so ridiculous walking around town with this taped stuffed animal bird on their shoulder. But they were doing that to try to see, how the dog responded. And then actually we found somebody with a bird and so it's very creative, which makes it really fun for our end as instructors, but we do try to personalize it the best that we can. That was a very long answer for that question. I apologize. I got a little excited about all the birds and planes.
No, that's great. Any new questions that came to your minds or comments for Leslie? We still have some time, so if you have
A
any,
perk would be with the cane travel, you can have birds or squirrels or anything on your shoulder, and the cane will not mind. So something to consider.
Janice.
How or do you accept financial donations from individuals?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really how we continue to provide the services that we do completely free. So our community really supports us. We have some really amazing donors. People do fundraisers on really large scales, on really small scales, but absolutely, yes, we live on donations really, and a
Do you have
state.
a button on your home page or?
Yep, absolutely. If
Okay.
you go to leaderdog.org, there is a donate button, and you can certainly navigate through that. I will say we have a really strong and wonderful philanthropy team who does a really great job of bringing in the funds. But what's really, what's nice for our organization is a lot of times people come to us for the dogs, right? Like puppies, that brings in a lot of volunteers, donors, clients, everybody. But once you get to know our organization, you really understand that we're a people organization. We love dogs too, right? But it's about the people that we're serving. And so it's always fun to connect with new people, bringing them into the organization and talk about dogs. Like that's typically their passion on the front end, but then really see them start to understand it's the people that we serve. And so I love Leader Dog. I hope that's clear. I'm very passionate about the work that we do here. We've been doing it for so long, and we try to continue to stay innovative. So one of the things that we're doing right now is some pilot programs. So as I've been mentioning throughout this conversation, we do mobility, right? We're doing cane travel and guide dog. Well, in a lot of conversations and a survey that we did from our clients and other professionals, we found that maybe that's not enough, right? There's a lot of gaps in services, and people really feel like they need more activities of daily living. They need more technology. We had a strong response to self-defense. And so these are some of the things that we're also trying to incorporate a little bit here and there and do some pilot programs. We're doing a pilot program for self-defense. So at least once a month, we're having a local individual who is blind himself come in and teach some basic self-defense and safety tips and techniques. And that's been really well received. We also are doing a technology talk every Wednesday, I think. We have a local vision rehabilitation therapist who's also blind himself. He comes in and answers some basic tech questions. So we're not providing full training, right? But maybe if somebody wants to just know a little bit more about the Meta Ray glasses and the AI, we can have those conversations and whatnot. So that's been very well received. And then we are also doing full week pilot programs. We did 2 this year. We're going to do another 2 next year, where we are doing activities of daily living and orientational mobility. So in the morning, O&M lesson, in the eve or afternoon, some, cooking or tech or things like that. And that was really well received too. So we'll see what happens in Leader Dog's future. I know we were talking about different breeds and things like that. One of the things that makes me most proud about our organization is the research that we continue to do that really drives our change. So we're also doing a research study with the Ohio State University on our harnesses and trying to figure out, are our harnesses best for the dogs, and are there pressure points? And so it's really exciting to be a part of this organization at this time when we're learning so many different things that are really impacting the change and growth and direction of which we're going.
And one more quick question.
Yes.
I've heard other service animal organizations talk about, for lack of a better term, how they place reject dogs or dogs that, in the end, they're just not cut out for the business. Do you place dogs that you find won't work well to be a service animal? Do you have an
Yeah.
application process for those animals?
Yes, we call them career change dogs. They just chose a different lifestyle, right?
Uh-huh,
We
uh-huh.
didn't reject them. They just chose a different life. So absolutely. So for our career change dogs, the first thing that we do is we actually evaluate them for another service, because we breed our own dogs, and we breed them to be service dogs. And so we will evaluate them to see if maybe they would be a good bomb sniffing dog, or maybe they would be a good retrieving dog,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it is. So we work with
Hmm.
different organizations. That's our first avenue. If that works out, then we will donate the dog to that organization. And we receive donations that way too. So it's
Hmm.
a mutual relationship. If that doesn't work out, we might see if the puppy raiser wants them. So we'll call the puppy raiser who spent the first year of their life with them and say, hey, you know what? Juno's not going to make it as a guide dog or a service dog. Are you interested in adopting Juno? If the puppy raiser says yes, that's great. That dog will go live a happy life as a pet, most likely. And then if that person says, no, unfortunately, we really can't right now, we're already raising another dog or whatever it is, we have a nice list of people who have applied to adopt these dogs and we vet them, right? And then we do a little bit matching on our own in that sense too. So we'll have the individual who wants to adopt the dog come in and meet the dog and make sure everybody's cohesive and things like that before sending the dog out. But we always make sure the dogs have a loving home to go home to.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. It's very sweet. And then the other thing too, some of our dogs might become what we call a canine ambassador. So we have some dogs that kind of like do our public relations, our PR, if you will. And so they, for example, Emmett is one of our canine ambassadors. He was career changed for some rotating patellas, his knee or something. He was limping. So he was career changed. We've never seen him limp since, but he is now a canine ambassador and he goes out to events to just be loved on. So he's a lovely, lovely boy. I can put a harness on him and do like a mimic of a guide dog walks for somebody
Hmm.
if they want to know.
Hmm.
But otherwise, he just gets loved on and people can pet him, right? Because he's not actually a service dog. So we
Hmm.
don't want to take our dogs in training sometimes or actual working dogs, but people want to still love on a dog. So that might be another option too.
Thank
Great. I
Yeah.
think I think there's a question in the chat from
Yes.
Edie. Mhm.
Can someone attend the self-defense and tech virtually? Not at this time. So these are still some newer pilot programs and we're trying to still figure them out. So not at this time. Those are just available to clients on campus. I think clients who are receiving in-home services can call in, but it's not like open to the broader public at this time. Another resource I didn't share actually as something we're very proud of is we have Krista Oliver. She's a client and client wellness and support specialist. So she has a psychology background and she's a full-time team member and she's kind of offering some more of that mental health. So she provides support network calls for our clients, like once a month. They have different topics that they talk about. She also provides some one-on-one conversations. For example, if somebody's getting ready to maybe retire a dog, that can be a very emotional experience, or a dog passes away, or just new to blindness, right? And now I have to have this cane, and people are identifying me as having a disability. And she just does a really great job of sharing additional resources and kind of providing that mental health resource. And so that's something else that we're really proud of is Krista and all the work that she's done on our team in the last, I think she's almost been here 2 years now.
That's great. Edie, actually, the self-defense is a great topic for a town hall meeting. So I'll try to find someone who can talk to us about that.
Yes. There is a book, it's called Safe Without Sight. It's older,
Mhm, mhm.
but if you haven't read that, I highly recommend it. It's a really good, it's just got some really good things to think about.
That's great. Any comments or questions for Leslie? This has been an eye-opener.
Oh, good. I love to talk about Leader Dog. I could do it all day. You know what else I will share with you? Just a couple additional resources. If you do go to leaderdog.org, and I'll put this link in the chat, actually, our resources hub has some really great information. There are virtual learning, so videos, like if you have more questions, you're not ready to fully commit, you want to see what our campus is like, there's a campus tour. If you're thinking about a guide dog, there's a great video on guide dog readiness that talks through all those lifestyle impacts and skills. There's also a video on kind of what is orientational mobility and how do we do it here at Leader Dog. So just some really nice things there. We also do collaboration events. So these are webinars that anybody is welcome to join. You can register for them on this website. And we spotlight other organizations and agencies that serve the entire United States. So our next one in July is going to be with IRA, We do it every other month, the last Wednesday of the month at 3 p.m. And it's just a very casual conversation like this is, right? We highlight other services. We're kind of one piece of the puzzle, but we know we have to all collectively work together in order to help individuals. So those are available. And then lastly, we do have a podcast. It's called Taking the Lead by Leader Dogs for the Blind. And I don't just say it's really good because I get the honor of being one of the co-hosts, but it is actually a really good podcast where we put out an episode every other week, and they're just short, about 20-minute, 30-minute episodes, and we interview clients and tell their stories, and team members and volunteers and other people in the blindness and low vision field. We just actually interviewed two wonderful team members from the Seeing Eye, which is another guide dog organization, and talked about all their advocacy efforts and work that they do. So while there's, of course, a little competitiveness in the guide dog world, it's like different brands, right? I will say overwhelmingly, though, we all work very well together and we collaborate, and it's a really nice industry to be in. And so that was really cool to highlight some of the really great things that they are doing, and some really great team members.
That's great. If you don't have any other questions or comments for Leslie, we'd like to all thank you for your time and great information. Now you have the website. If you ever think about going to Michigan for training, please do so and check their website. It's great. Thank you again, and we will see you back in September.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.
Take care, Leslie, and everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.